The cardboard box in her arms felt heavier than anything she had ever carried in her life. Not because of the weight of the photo frames or the small potted plant tucked inside it, but because of what it represented. 12 years of her life, reduced to a single box, carried out through glass doors while people she once called colleagues avoided her eyes. This is the story of a woman named Diane Foster, a woman who lost everything in a single afternoon, and the one act of kindness from a stranger that would change the course of her life forever. Before we continue, if you believe in second chances, if you believe that kindness can still change lives even in the coldest corners of this world, hit that like button, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this video with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so you never miss a story like this one. Now, let's continue. Diane had worked at Whitmore Financial Group since she was 28 years old. She started as a receptionist, worked her way into administration, and eventually became the office manager. Everyone relied on the one who remembered birthdays, who kept the coffee machine running, who stayed late when deadlines loomed. She had given the company the best years of her life. But 2 months ago, Whitmore Financial was acquired by a larger corporation, and with the acquisition came what the executives called restructuring. Diane called it something else: betrayal. On a gray Tuesday morning, she was called into a conference room by a man she had never met before, handed a folder, and told that her position was being eliminated effective immediately. She hadn't even cried in front of them. She had nodded, signed the papers with a hand that trembled more than she wanted anyone to see, and walked back to the small cubicle that had been hers for over a decade. She packed her belongings in silence while her coworkers pretended to be busy, none of them meeting her gaze, none of them offering so much as a word of comfort. It wasn't cruelty, exactly, it was fear. Everyone was afraid they might be next, and grief, she realized, made people cowards. Diane was 54 years old. She had a mortgage, a car payment, and a daughter in her second year of college, who didn't yet know that the tuition checks might stop coming. She had no husband to lean on. He had passed away 6 years earlier after a long illness that drained their savings and left her carrying the weight of their household alone. She had rebuilt her life once already, brick by brick, and now, standing in the marble lobby of the building that no longer wanted her, she felt every one of those bricks crumbling beneath her feet again. She walked toward the exit with her box clutched against her chest, the framed photo of her late husband peeking out from beneath a stack of files, and she could barely see the doors in front of her through the tears blurring her vision. She told herself she would not break down here, not in front of the security cameras, not in front of the receptionist who had once brought her coffee every morning. She just needed to make it outside. That was when a voice stopped her, warm, steady, and completely unexpected. A man in a Navy facilities uniform, his name tag reading M. Carter, was standing near the lobby entrance with a mop in one hand. He had seen hundreds of people pass through those doors over the years, but something about the way Diane was walking, shoulders curled inward, eyes fixed on the floor, arms trembling around a box that seemed far too heavy for what it contained, made him set his mop aside. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her story. All he knew was that she looked like a woman who was breaking apart, quietly, in a building full of people too busy to notice. He stepped toward her, not blocking her path, but simply falling into step beside her, and asked if she needed help carrying that box to her car. It was such a small question, such an ordinary offer, but to Diane it landed like a lifeline thrown to someone drowning in silence. She looked up at him, startled that anyone had spoken to her with kindness that day, and before she could even answer, her composure finally broke. Right there in the lobby, tears she had been holding back for hours spilled down her face. Marcus didn't flinch. He didn't look around awkwardly or try to rush her along. He simply reached out and gently took the heavier side of the box from her arms, lightening her load in the most literal sense, and told her to take her time. He walked with her to the parking garage, matching her slow, unsteady pace, and in the 15 minutes it took to cross that lobby and reach her car, Diane found herself telling this stranger things she hadn't even told her closest friends about the job, about her husband, about the fear gripping her chest at the thought of facing her daughter with the truth. Marcus listened. He didn't offer empty platitudes or rush to fix her problems. He simply listened, the way so few people take the time to do anymore. When they reached her car, he helped her load the box into the trunk, and before she drove away, he told her something she would remember for the rest of her life, that losing a job was not the same as losing her worth, and that sometimes the doors that close on us are simply making room for ones we haven't discovered yet. What Diane didn't know that day was that Marcus Carter wasn't just a facilities worker. He had once run his own small property management company, one that had grown quietly over the years into a respected local firm, before he chose to step back from the corporate grind and spend his days doing honest, simple work close to home. He still consulted for a handful of businesses on the side, and as fate would have it, one of his contacts, a property management firm across town, was desperately searching for an experienced office administrator, someone reliable, organized, and steady under pressure. 2 days later, Diane received a phone call. Marcus had passed her name along with a short but sincere recommendation about the kind of person he believed she was, based on nothing more than 15 minutes in a lobby. The interview felt almost surreal to her, still raw from her layoff, but she walked in and spoke with a confidence she didn't know she still had, carried forward by the words of a stranger who had believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. She got the job, and it paid more than her old one ever had. Months later, Diane returned to that same building, not as an employee anymore, but simply to say thank you. She found Marcus in the lobby, still in his Navy uniform, still greeting people with the same quiet warmth. She hugged him before he could even react, and told him that his small act of kindness on the worst day of her life had become the turning point that saved it. Marcus, humble as ever, simply smiled, and said that all he did was carry a box. Before we end today's story, if this touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to comment below and share what kindness means to you. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. And if you believe that a small act of kindness can truly change someone's destiny, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Because stories like Diane's deserve to be heard. Sometimes the difference between someone falling apart and someone finding their way back isn't a miracle. It's simply one person choosing to notice, to stop, and to care.